Okay, I think that we can get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to learn about community shares with Selce. My name's Cara. I'm the project development and fundraising manager at Selce. So just a couple of housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded mainly for my purposes. The slides will be available to attendees after the event. Please, if you can, remain on mute, and we will have questions at the end. There's a lot of information to get through, so I think that makes the most sense. I hope that works for people. This webinar is for people who have no experience of community shares or knowledge, and for those who have some. So if we tell you things about Selce that you already know, please bear with us, or bear with me. And this is so that everybody can get all the information that they need. So today we'll be covering who Selce are, what community shares are, how community shares work in practice, how we use LED lighting to benefit schools and the wider community, how we raise the money for LEDs, and how it works for you, what you get out of being an investor in community shares with us, what you do in practice, what you get in return. We'll also obviously be answering your questions at the end, which is very important. We want to know what people need to know and answer as well as we can. I should be able to see raised hands. Is anyone here already a member of Selce or has heard of Selce before? You can use the raised hands function. That would be great. Just to get a quick temperature check in the room. Okay, not too many people. Has anyone been involved in community shares through some other project, either in their local area? Perhaps they have purchased community shares in something they saw on the internet. Okay, okay, so a bit more. Okay, a few people. Okay, but not everybody by a long short. Okay. That's really helpful. Are people here from London or from outside? So if you're from London, can you raise your hand? Okay, so again, not everybody. Okay. That's really interesting. So there's people outside London. Okay, we're about half and half. Okay, that's fantastic. That just really helps me sort of set the tone of what I'm going to cover and like how much time I spend on it. So for those people who don't know, what is Southeast London Community Energy? So we're a community energy cooperative. We're a social enterprise. So we're charitable and we engage in trading. We provide energy saving advice and practical support to people who are struggling with their energy bills. So we advise nearly 2,000 people a year. Often people who are struggling, we provide them with insulation and the means to stay warmer in their house. But we also own and operate several megawatts of both solar panels on local buildings and LED installations, all of which have been financed through community shares. That's 11 solar arrays and 3 sites at which we've installed LEDs already. So we estimate that we're saving the local community nearly £100,000 on their bills, which is really amazing, generating clear energy and saving carbon emissions. So this webinar is for you. As far as possible, what we want to do is help you understand how community shares benefit us all, solve some of the problems associated with the climate crisis that we're all facing, and encourage you to get involved in your local energy cooperative. What I want to do is talk a bit about how community shares actually work, nuts and bolts thereof. And as an illustration, community shares have been used by a huge number of different organisations across the country. One way to look at it is they are a democratic way for the community to purchase the assets that they need. So they're a way that cooperatives can raise funds to buy the things that we need in our community. It's kind of like a crowdfunder for the absolute beginner, but of course it's not a donation. People receive their funds back. It's an investment, but it's if you know what a crowdfunder is, it's kind of similar, but it's not a donation. It's more like an investment or a loan. The money is returned to you after a specific length of time, and a return is provided to your investment as well as membership benefits. So according to Cooperatives UK, the membership organisation for cooperatives, there are over 7,000 registered cooperatives in the UK, owned by 17 million people. Local examples include us, Selce, the Star of Greenwich pub, if you know that, which recently raised funds to buy the pub and operates as a cooperatively owned pub. Community shares have been used by over 500 cooperative and community businesses, so they can be anything from pubs, shops in rural areas, housing projects, community spaces. It's used in a whole range of ways, as we say, to secure the assets that the community need into like member ownership. Just going to admit someone. There are also, across London, 30 active community energy groups, so groups similar to Selce, which are members of Community Energy London, so nearly one for every one of the 32 London boroughs. And it's important to note that community-owned businesses are an incredibly stable way to run businesses. So Cooperatives UK ran a survey and they believe that 92% of all businesses that have used community shares are still trading, which is really important. I'm going to admit another person. We're filling up. That's excellent. So on the next slide, one thing I found is that some people really want more information about how the community shares, so how the investment that individuals contribute to a cooperative such as Selce actually help us to deliver the benefits for the community and how that raises finance that come back to them. So in this diagram, we sort of have a little bit of information about that. So here we see that the community members contribute to our community share target. In this case, the community share target is just over £41,000. And we use this money to plan and then install LED lightings for, in this case, 4 schools and a community centre in the local area that are all receiving LED lighting. I'm admitting people because I haven't got an assistant on this presentation. When we reach our target, the LEDs are leased to the schools. And community members who have purchased shares benefit from membership. Cooperatives are democratic organisations. So sometimes I say investor members. All our investors are members and all our members are investors. Everyone has one member, one vote irrespective of their financial contribution. So there's a level of equality there. Everybody can stand to be a director if they wish. They can participate in community participation activities that we run, which includes our AGM, where everyone has one member, one vote. And so as LEDs are installed in our 4 schools and 1 community centre, the energy savings that schools receive, so they said they pay less overall for their bills, enables us to repay our initial investors with a return, which is forecast to be 4%. We're also able then to send some surplus towards our energy advice service that we talked about at the top. So that's supporting people who are struggling to pay their bills, to stay warmer and insulate their home, and provide advocacy with energy companies where people are struggling with recalcitrant energy companies. And this project, so we're raising with this project just over £41,000 for our 5 LED sites. When we hit that target, we close the share offer. And this project will contribute just over £28,000 towards energy advice over the 6 years of the programme. That is everything brought together, which perhaps a little bit, there's quite a lot on there. So as one example, I'm going to tell you the story of New Haven schools. This is a picture of New Haven School. This is one of the local schools in our LED project. It's a school for 172 children that attend there. They're 11 to 16-year-olds, and it's a special school for children with autism and or mental health problems. So this school has just over 300 light fittings. They're all old. We've all been in a building with old light fittings, fluorescent tubes, they flicker. no one can work out how to replace the starter. So you take the bulb out and then you've got dark patches all over the room and you just deal with it. And there's a scary corridor that looks like it's out of The Shining with the light flicking on and off. It's not nice. And to replace the whole thing, often you need to replace the fittings, maybe have a look at the lighting. You're not sure which contractor to go with. The whole thing for this school was going to cost them £31,000 to convert over all to LEDs. Schools don't have that kind of money at the moment. As we all know, we've been living through austerity, it's dragging on. Schools just don't have the money. And this is where we come in, because we are able to rally people together to contribute community shares. We raise the money both through grants and community shares to do our LED installations. This means the school gets great new lighting, everyone's happy. The savings for our schools in this project are forecast to be over £300,000, and investors obviously receive their return. New Haven School in particular will be contributing £700 a year towards the energy advice service. We're doing good. Now, I know a lot of people who do know Selce know us for our solar installations, and for community energy organisations in general, and Selce in particular, this is actually the first time that we've used a share offer to raise money for LED installations. A lot of people know that installing solar, whether it be a large array in the countryside or on buildings, community centres, or even houses in an urban environment, that community share offers are a well-known way of achieving that goal. Why LEDs then? So it's interesting to note that for each pound we invest, LEDs actually save more carbon. I actually didn't even know this until I started at Selce. I have LEDs in my house. I understood that they were more efficient than the efficient fluorescent type bulbs that I'd installed previously, but I thought the difference I was making was marginal. And I thought it was really up to the individual whether they wanted to go with a fluorescent or an LED bulb. I was completely wrong about this. Actually, the savings are huge. And it also makes, again, the saving isn't just large, the saving is better per pound invested than solar. And it's also worth noting, of course, that not all community roofs are suitable for solar. Some of them are just the wrong angle, they're shaded. We can't put solar everywhere. And when we're talking about saving carbon emissions, we obviously want to save energy before we generate energy. That's good common sense in terms of environmental practice. So if you haven't got them in your house, the savings can be really good per bulb. And lighting, although we think of the kettle or the heating being the biggest consumer of lighting, lighting is a big part of your electricity bill. So it's 15% on the average house, according to, I think I got this from the Energy Saving Trust. So this is why what I'm trying to communicate here is this is why LED lightings are just as, if not more important than a solar installation in terms of what we can actually do for our sites. The detail is that if we invest £9,000, we get a kilogram of carbon emission savings. So if your priority is carbon emission savings, we all need to invest £9,000 to get a kilogram of carbon emission saving. It's £7,000 if we go for LEDs. I did this maths and I'm not an engineer, but it's about that. So that's just an idea of how much difference it actually makes. So I thought I'd do a fun game. Because when we think about where we put our money, it's useful to think about where it is already. And when I decided to look this information up, I was actually a bit shocked and thought a little bit about where I put my savings. So of course, for the participants in the community share offer, the share issue is a form of savings or investment from our perspective. We're thinking about where our savings are, and we're potentially moving some of them to Selce in order to contribute to the benefits for everybody. So if you recognise any of these high street banks where you may have your current account, you may have your ISA, you may have your savings account, maybe you've got one for holidays and one for your kids. It's worth thinking a little bit. I looked up a little bit about just how bad some of them are. So if we take, for example, Barclays, I think Barclays is one of the biggest high street banks. Since 2016, Barclays invested 167 billion in fossil fuel finance. They're just above HSBC, I think the second most popular high street bank, which invested 130 billion in fossil fuel finance. And these are the high street banks that we sort of rely on in order to have our bank cards and basically engage with modern life. Have overall, in the last, since 2016, just under 10 years, invested $4.6 trillion, I think that is, in financing fossil fuels. And that's to say nothing of their track record in investing in human rights abuses, arms manufacturing, cluster bombs, funding conflict in Syria, in Yemen, animal exploitation, and their gender pay gap record isn't great either. A study for Ethical Consumer found that the finance industry pays men approximately 24% more than women, and most don't actually report their gender pay gaps, even though they claim that it's very important to them. And so the reason I thought it would be useful to reflect on this is just because I would encourage everyone to have a look at ethical savings options out there, even if you don't choose Selce. We don't claim at Selce that consumer choice is the only way we create change in the world, but it's certainly an important one. So, from our perspective as potential investors, how does it work and what is it going to do for us? So if you're thinking of investing, the way community shares work is there are some very strict rules about how we can operate. So you can choose to invest between £250 and £20,000, provided that you are not a minor. You can't invest more than £20,000. It's illegal. You cannot, unfortunately, choose to invest less than £250, which means it's only suitable for you if you have £250 that you can spare to invest in such a scheme. Okay. Everyone should receive a forecast 4% return on investment. You are informed about this annually. You'd be invited to come to the AGM. The board of directors will report to you whether they have achieved their target through this share offer of achieving the 4% return. And then they will give you the opportunity to either receive your 4% or to donate that towards energy advice, which actually a lot of people do. Some people choose not to receive their 4% and to put that instead towards our energy advice. And obviously, as a member, you'll receive regular updates about what we're achieving in the community. And so that'll be completely transparent to you whether you want to do that. You've also, of course, got your membership. It means you have voting rights. Co-ops are democratic organizations, and it means you can get more involved. So you could choose to volunteer, you can choose to train, you can choose to run workshops or attend workshops with us, come to the AGM. One thing that's useful from the point of view of your money management and your personal plans is most community share offers for solar require quite a long period of investment. So, for example, most people will have, you've got your current account, you've got your instant access savings account that's for a rainy day, and maybe you've chosen to put some savings into something for a longer term of investment. Perhaps you were looking for a better rate of interest, right? Or a better return, or you've gone for an ethical bond or something like this. Your investment with Selce is more like your ethical bond in that, and only in this sense, it's a longer term investment. Some solar schemes ask people to invest for up to 10 years or for 10 years. It's a long-term commitment. The LEDs repay us faster as investors. So in this share offer, it's actually much more flexible and in that sense accessible to you than other share offers that Selce has offered in the past and others that you will probably find through other community organizations. So in this share offer, you can choose. If you only wish to invest for 1 year, you're only locked in for 1 year, and you can choose to up to 6 years. So we've had people investing. If everybody went for 1, then I would be closing the option for 1 year and declining further requests for a 1 year and saying, no, would you like 2? As it happens, I haven't had to do that yet. So if you want a 1 year investment, you can go for it, but get in quick before the the 1 year allocation goes. So you've got that flexibility. And if you need more information about how that's going to work, obviously my contact details are going to be available at the end of this presentation. So you're going to, you're going to be able to ask for more detail. Also, people are putting questions in the chat. That is useful. I will read them out at the end. Thank you for doing that. This investment, it's important to say, is not risk-free. And it's very important that you read the full risk statement in the community share brochure. I will be sharing a link to the community share brochure. It's online anyway, but I'll be sharing the link at this. It's important that you read that and you understand the investment risk. So as you can see, this offer is the most accessible and attractive, basically, offer that we've been able to provide thus far in terms of both the carbon savings per pound and the convenience of having the shorter investment period. The 4% return for shareholders is a forecast, not a guarantee. But LEDs are actually a much more reliable technology, if truth be told, than solar. There are ways that solar could go wrong. LEDs almost never go wrong. And so in that sense, the return on investment is much, it's pretty safe. But again, I'm not going to say I can't make claims, and you need to go and read the risk statement. That's very important that you understand things. I always encourage people to look at all the ethical savings opportunities out there in the world, and to donate regularly to causes that you appreciate. But it's worth noting that I had a quick look at the lovely Martin Lewis Money Saving Experts top savings accounts recommended at the moment, and the best he can find in his top savings account, the last time I looked, was offering 4.3%. So interest rates still aren't good out there, and that is not an ethical account, and I'd never heard of it, so I don't know what the customer service is like. So I've got to say, I think this is actually this is a nice choice for people. So really, really simple steps. If you choose to invest in Selce, it's important that you read the share offer document. There's a short version, an easy read, and there's a long version which contains things like a financial forecast, biographies of the directors, and full in-depth terms and conditions. That's a 26-page document that really takes you through all of the information you could possibly want, your clear risk statement, all of those things. Or you've also got, and I'm going to share with you, the easy read one that tells you what the carbon savings are in the form of lovely infographics. You will receive, as soon as you fill out an online or application form, if you don't want to do it online, you need to email me and ask me to post it to you, and my email will be available. You will receive a confirmation email, which is not automated. So if you do it outside of working hours, you will not see it straight away. Do not panic. It's literally written by me. When you receive a confirmation email, we ask that you make a bank transfer, and ta-da, welcome to Selce. I am going to put these useful links in the chat for everybody now. And please, while I'm doing that, feel free to put your questions in the chat or think about what they are, because we're coming to the end of the presentation. I'm going to open it up for your questions. So here's a few links: the full share offer document, the application form, and the 2-minute read. So let me have a look. What have we here? Oh, someone shared a really nice, thank you, Lee. Lee has shared the highest to lowest climate offenders among UK banks from a website called My Mother Tree. I got my information from ethicalconsumer.org. They actually, although you can subscribe to Ethical Consumer, and I know a lot of committed ethical shoppers will have chosen to do that, they actually publish a ton of useful information on their website without you subscribing, which is really, really useful. Lee has also said, okay, Lee says there's 3 trillion in UK pensions. Yes. There's so much to say about pensions. It's really worth wherever you're employed asking for clarification about whether there's a more ethical version. There usually is something that's more ethical than the one that's defaulted to, even if it's not perfect. Yeah, Make Money Matter is a good website. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Sana has asked, is this investment covered under the tax-free allowance? I am not an expert on that. The answer regarding tax is in the long version of the share offer document, which is shared in the chat. So the short one's pretty infographics and images. The long one has got all of the sections on that. It has a section about inheritance tax. As far as your investment tax-free allowance is concerned, I believe so, but because our investment isn't bundled into an ISA, you'd have to be doing your own taxes. But again, I think you'd have to ask an expert on that. If you want an answer from me, you can also email me and I will find out. It will just take me a little bit longer. So Maria has said, can you have a combination of investment times, e.g. some at 1 year and some at 2 years? Yes, Maria, you could do that, actually. So you can't invest more than £20,000. I mean, that's quite a lot. You might want to do that. But you can't go over the ceiling. So you couldn't invest £10,000 at 1 year and then £15,000 at 2 years because you would have gone over the ceiling. However, if you wanted to invest at different levels, the easiest way to communicate that to me would be to fill out the application form twice, because the application form will only let you select a specific period. So it will allow you to say, my investment term is, and the drop down list will say 1 year, you say 2 years, 6 years. So you would have to say, I would like to invest £1,000. Here's my dates for 1 year, and then submit it and fill it out again. Or if that's annoying, you can email me and say, I tried to do this and it's not working for me. I'm not happy. Can you just accept my application? And basically, I just go in and fill out the application form. But that's quite a reasonable question, actually. I was recently asked by somebody if you can join as an organisation. I think it was a local green group said, well, can our local green group be a Selce member? And I thought that was actually really interesting. I hadn't put that information in the share offer document, but it is completely legitimate within the rules of Selce. If you have an organisation or indeed business or cooperative, and you would like a small amount of reserves that you've accrued to be part of it, and for your organisation to be linked to Selce as part of the climate movement in South East London, then you could do that. The same rules would apply to you as an organisational member, and you'd still only have 1 vote. So even if you've got 100 members, you'd still only have 1 vote, and you'd be asked to name your representative, and your representative would receive communications from us and would be invited to the AGM. Okay, Lee's asked me an interesting question. Okay, is the return dependent on the actual difference between energy prices each year? Or is there an agreed difference for the whole time period? Is the return... There's various things that can affect your return.
Yeah,
if there was a failure...
Well, if you want more
ask,
figures...
Sorry, my wife as well.
Sorry, Lee, can you mute
that part, because
I'm hearing a lot of background noise. If Lee, did you want to clarify your question though? Okay, can you come off mute and ask your question? That will help.
No, I can't raise it at the moment because of background noise. So I'll come back to you later. Move on and I'll come back.
Okay. I don't know exactly how to answer it, and please telephone me if you want more information, or email me. The 4% return to investment is to investors is a forecast. There are circumstances in which that could not happen. That's why we say it's a forecast. It's not a guarantee. However, it's not dependent on the energy price difference. The energy price difference, we make a forecast for the schools. We say we think your energy bills will do this over the next 6 years, and we will charge you this. We don't promise to track the market. We just come in so cheap for our leasing that they make savings. How can I say that more clearly? In the case of LED lighting, which is all of the projects that are in this investment portfolio, right? The money that comes to Selce and that therefore comes as a return to our investors to both repay you and to provide you with a return is from basically a rental agreement whereby our schools and community partners are renting the lighting, and that is fixed. So that's why we know that will come back to you no matter what. If, for example, energy prices fell across the United Kingdom, and the energy suppliers that our school and community partners were with chose to pass those potential savings on to the consumer, if they weren't locked into a fixed price or what have you, depending on their relationship with their energy supplier, then potentially what that would do is it would mean that their savings were different, because we've said your energy will be this, and they've paid less for that. And so technically they've saved less, but that's still a win for everybody, if you see what I mean. I hope that makes sense. Okay, have we got any more? Oh, we have got a couple. Okay, Lee, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Lee. I had a friend who spells it like that once and they were known as Leah. Lee, do you track the demographic data of who is investing and has Selce done any work around increasing the accessibility of online share offers? It's really interesting, actually. Going forward, that would sort of fall to me. This is Selce's 4th share offer. We've only done 3 previously. And in the past, we have never asked members to, fill out a form telling us about their demographic information. I did a little bit of research looking at, basically because we have people's addresses, I can tell where people live. So I looked at, for example, are they in our area of Southeast London? Are they in London, or are they in the wider world? But that's the only information I had about them that I was in a position to make an analysis of. I think going forward, we want this to be as accessible as possible. And as a community shares and cooperative movement, we want to find out what attracts shares to people. What are the barriers? Is £250 too high? It's difficult because it costs money to administrate the payment. We don't want, if we took in a penny, it perhaps wouldn't make sense for Selce. I also found recently that there's no research that anyone has done looking at the way we talk about community shares. So are people more attracted to the fact that it's local? Are people attracted to the fact that it's saving the planet? Are people attracted to the fact that it's for schools? I think it's all a really interesting area. And I'm thinking about perhaps doing some kind of surveying, perhaps inviting members to go to a focus group, talk about how they heard about us, what attracted them. I think it's basically, I'm giving you a really long answer. I think it's a really interesting area. I'd love it if someone like Co-ops UK or Community Energy England or someone like that did something at a larger scale. They haven't yet. I think it would be fabulous. I'm probably going to look at doing something with our members. I don't know how statistically significant it will be. We've got 230 members at the moment, but it would still be interesting to do. Also, members can volunteer with Selce. You can come and talk to me and say, I'd really like to do so. I've got experience running focus group. Okay, Maria says the return is 4% per year. Is that right? I've sort of covered it. So yes, but I always say it's forecast. I have to be honest about okay, so Isra. Okay, thank you. I will be sharing the slides. Okay, some people are saying thank you, they have to run. Claire says, okay, we've still got time. If you invest for 1 year, can it be extended? You could propose it. We don't offer it at the outset. I believe, Claire, can you put that in writing to me and put it in an email? And I will get you a factual answer. We don't plan to. However, by the time a year is out, another share offer might be open. Because we hope to, at Selce, obviously, this is our 10th anniversary year. We want to cover South East London in solar and LEDs. It might make sense. It might be that the answer is no, Claire, but we would just say, when your finances return to you, invest it again in another share offer. Oh, okay, good. Thanks, Lee. Lee said that answers my question. Oh, I don't know what PUNL is. Is that the Plunkett Foundation?
No, it's Power Up North London. It's another community energy
Power Up
organisation.
North London.
Yes,
Okay.
I think it was
will
them.
check that. I will check that. If you've got it, please
Yeah.
send it to me.
Sure, thanks.
Okay, I think I've covered. We've gone through things really quickly. I think I've covered all the questions in the chat. I'm going to put my personal details in the chat now. And I'm going to say, while you think about whether you've got any more questions, I'm just going to do a couple of final thoughts, and then I'll let you all get back to work. You will receive, people who participated or indeed registered via Eventbrite at all, you'll receive a very quick follow-up survey. This again is just me trying to learn as much as possible as I can about what kind of information people want and need when they consider investing in community shares. It'll ask you like how you heard about us. This is all really important to me because we are doing more share offers. We're doing ambitious share offers. They're coming up on the horizon quite soon, and I want to get the message out there, and I want to understand what has motivated people to come here today. So please do fill that in. It also has my contact details on it, so you can contact me. One last thought about this share offer. As some of you will know, share offers, like crowdfunders, are for a fixed set of assets that we purchased and for a fixed amount of money for a fixed length of time. So this share offer is currently 50% to the target. The target's just over £41,000. It's not a big share offer. We will close the offer when we reach the target or by the 30th of September, whichever is soonest. The webinar today is probably my last big bit of awareness raising. There'll be some socials after this, but not very much. We're 50% of the way there, and so I very much suspect that in the next couple of weeks, the opportunity to invest is going to fill up and we're going to hit the target. So I'd say if you've come today with the intention of investing and you like what you have heard and you're enthusiastic, I would not put it off for 2 weeks and then forget and get distracted by life. I would go and do it. Otherwise, you could miss out. And my boss tells me that people are sometimes disappointed if they miss out. I mean, you could look at it and say, okay, but Selce, you're doing another solar offer in a little while, but that will be a 10-year investment period, and so you won't have the choice of the shorter investment periods. And so with that, I would say thank you, everybody who's attended. Please fill out the form. Please contact me if you want more information. Please choose to invest in your local energy cooperative. Thank you very much for your time and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.